name is Bethany Miller, and I'm here to talk to you today about story mapping as an instructional technique. As a future school librarian, story mapping is a technique that I'll be able to use in my future library. It's ideally suited for elementary students from 1st to 4th grade. It can be used in order to increase reading comprehension and organization. The basic idea of a story map is a fairly simple one. You have the students read a short story, a picture book, or a short passage of your choice, and then they are given a graphic organizer in order to map the story. They're given a graphic organizer, like the one laid out here behind me, where each element of the story is listed, and then they must either write or draw in things that represent each element of that story. The students must be able to identify the setting, the problem, the goal, the solution. The ultimate goal is for the students to locate the elements of the narrative. Story mapping provides a visual spatial display for this key information. We are going to look into this strategy because of its effectiveness with students with disabilities. It allows the students to see what they are learning and to work on organizing it effectively. There have been numerous studies done backing up the fact that it assists with reading comprehension, especially with students who have reading or writing challenges. It's also been proven to increase reading comprehension in students with ADHD because of the visual aspect of the activity. I will provide references for the studies in the script of this video, so for your perusal. The materials you will need for this lesson are fairly simple. You are going to need some reading material, a short story or a picture book that are ideal for this lesson. You will then need the story map organizer that you are going to use. The most important part of using a story map as a technique is to make sure that your story map is at grade level. There are many different kinds that you can use depending on the elements of the narrative that you want them to identify and how complex the student's thinking is at the time. It can be as simple as the one behind me with bubbles labeled as title, problem, solution, character, setting, or it can be as complex as the one in our textbook, Bryant and Bryant's book, Teaching Students with Special Needs in the Inclusive Classroom. The graphic organizer can be found on page 456, where it becomes more specific about the problem, the goal, and the action that will get the characters to the outcome that they need. For my lesson example, I am using a simple graphic organizer because this lesson is designed for children in the 2nd grade. It has bubbles for setting, problem, solution, and main characters. This would be ideal for 2nd or 3rd graders learning basic structures of the story. You will also have to pick out an example text for you to read to the students. For my example, I'm going to use the book Mo Willems' My New Friend is So Fun. So, let's begin. If I were to begin my lesson, I would gain everyone's attention to signal that class is about to start and we will be doing an activity. Let's assume for this lesson that the last time I saw these students, we talked about the elements of a story, right? I would ask certain questions regarding the elements of a story as to what setting includes, how we know the main characters are, and so on. I would keep doing this until I was sure that the students understood the elements of the story before going on. After the review, it's time to preview our lesson. I would explain to the students that today we will be working with a story map. This story map is a way for us to build on our previous lesson of identifying the elements of the story. Now it is time to begin the lesson. I will be working on the model of I do, we do, and you do. So to start off, I will be modeling the entire process. So we have done all our prep work, we've gained the students' attention, and we've broken down what we'll be doing today. Now, in order to have time to do everything, it's suggested that you read the book to the class beforehand. So let's say like the previous lesson when we talked about the elements of the story, we used the same book that we talked about previously. So we'll assume for my lesson that I've read My New Friend is So Fun to the students last week or the last time I saw them. So they already know the basic plot and the idea of this. So I will not bore you as teachers with the entire plot or reading of My Friend is So Fun. We're just going to talk about the plot line. So basically, the plot line of this book is that, as you can see here, we have Piggy and Brian the Bat, who have become friends. And they're playing together, they're very excited about it. Gerald the elephant, who is Piggy's best friend here, first, when he finds out about this, he's very excited. He thinks they'll have a lot of fun. And then Gerald and the snake friend over here worry that Piggy and Brian the Bat are having too much fun. They are worried they're going to be replaced as best friends for Piggy and Brian the Bat here. They get very worried, they get all in their head about it, and then basically what happens is, in the end, they go to confront Piggy and Brian, and they are reassured that Piggy and Gerald is Piggy's best friend, and Snake is Brian's best friend, and nothing can change that. And they suddenly realize they were worried for nothing. So as I said, I would have read this book to the students beforehand, and then turn to my graphic organizer behind me. And then I need to think aloud about, as I tackle each one of the bubbles. Let's say I start with setting. I'd say, well, you know what? There's not really a setting in this book. You know, there's no pictures, it's not set in the setting, but I can kind of tell we have a little bit of a dirt mound here, and we have the sky. So I'm going to say that it takes place in a park. So I'm going to write park. Or if the students are a little more, they're not quite there with their words and writing, you could just have them maybe draw a picture of a tree. Park. So let's say, then we're going to take on another aspect of the narrative, right? So let's say we'll go with the title, which I should have started with first. The title of the book, obviously, is My New Friend is So Fun. So, that's pretty easy. Now, the characters. Now, the characters in this book are fairly straightforward. There's only 4 of them. I would say that I think Gerald and the snake get more time in this book. They seem to spend most of the time with them. Piggy and the bat are only in the last few pages. However, my graphic organizer does not differentiate between main characters and supporting characters. So we're just going to write down or draw pictures, if they want, of these guys. So let's say I'm going to put it here. We have Piggy, Brian the Bat, Gerald, and Snake. Okay. Now, so those are the fairly simple parts of the story. Those are just talking about what we see, what we know. Now we're going to get to the part where we're thinking about the problem and the solution. So, for the problem of this book, I'd say the problem of this book, I think, right, is when Gerald and Snake are worried about the fact that Piggy and Brian are going to replace them. So, we're going to write down here, Gerald, you'll have to, being left-handed is very difficult when it comes to whiteboards. Gerald and Snake are going to be replaced. So, that's the problem of the whole story. They're worried about that. And now, we have to talk about the solution. So I'm going to think about the solution, right? Well, the solution of the story really is that Gerald and the snake realized that they had nothing to worry about. But what makes them realize they had nothing to worry about in the first place? So when we think about it that way, what makes them realize that is the fact that Piggy and Brian drew pictures of their best friends, and their best friends were Gerald and the snake, not each other. So we'll say the solution for this is that Piggy and Brian drawing pictures of their best friends. Okay, so now we have managed to fill out every part of my story map here. So at this point, I've modeled how to fill out a graphic organizer, and I have talked it aloud with them. So what I'm going to do now, excuse me, is I'm going to ask the students if they have any questions, if they understood what just happened, what I just did, and if they have questions at this point, obviously you're going to answer their questions, talk it about a little bit, at which point we're going to move on to the we do. So I'm going to pick another short book, and we'll do Waiting is Not Easy by Mo Willems, an Elephant and Piggy book. So I would read this book to them quickly. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing of it, but so we'd read the book to them, and then what you're going to do is you're going to work with the student this time, right? So instead of me just filling out the graphic organizer alone, what I do this time is, so I, erase everything, and I would talk to the students about it and make the students come up here and fill out everything. Or I'd just call on students and I'd fill it out by myself. So that everyone together, as a class, we have worked and filled out our new graphic organizer. So once our graphic organizer is all filled out after working together as students, as a whole class, I'm going to check again for some questions. I'm going to make sure that they understand. I'm going to check for comprehension. I'm going to make sure that that I wasn't just calling on the students who I knew understood the whole activity, and that I was talking with the students that may need a little more help with it. At which point, I would then, hopefully, I can't do it here because I only have a whiteboard, but most schools nowadays have smart boards in them. So if you have a smart board up, I would suggest you bring up one more book, a nice short book, maybe another Elephant and Piggy book, because that seems to be the, the theme of our lesson here. And you are going to show them, you're going to bring it up as an ebook. And as the ebook, it allows them to look at the pages on the screen so that they have reference to it up there while they're working independently. This is also a great place that you could use tablets for students who maybe need assistive technology, or if you want to use it for everyone, obviously you can do that as well. And then you're going to pass out the sheets that have our graphic organizer, like this one, on them to each student. And you're going to have each student make sure to go ahead and fill it out. And then at which point you are going to walk around, you're going to make sure that everyone's understanding it, taking questions as you go. But it's time for I do. It's time for them to do their own, or sorry, not I do, you do. It's time for them to do their own work now. So at this point, we've talked through the whole lesson. We've done the I do, we do, and you do. And that's how you teach with a story map for, let's say, a 40-minute class in the library. Obviously, at that point, You as the teacher can evaluate what worked effectively and what didn't work effectively, but that's about it. That's how you use a story map for a technique. If you have any questions regarding this, you are more than welcome to talk to me at any point. You can email me. I'll even give my phone number if people want it. And that's about it. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you have a really great week.